Sarah, we are very honored you're here with us today.
Thank you.
And we'll be discussing another dimension of the story writing. Sarah Mctyre is a multi-award winning illustrator and writer of children books and comics. She's the Bookseller magazine actually named her as one of their rising stars for heading the Picture Means Business campaign. And that was called for more than praise and a credit for the book illustrator, which give a great credit for all the book illustrator and after this campaign actually. Her books, Morans, the Manifest, and Where the Letters, she's been awarded for several actually awards within different years, 2009, 2010, and 2011. And 2016 also been awarded for the one of the awards also. We are very interested to hear this part of the story of the illustration and how actually you started with this, and is that illustration has been started something in your personality from beginning, or actually came in with the growing up and training, and that we would like to hear this part of the story.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's ask, please, all welcome Sarah. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Sarah.
So hello, everyone. So I was curious, how many of you are actually writers? If it's poetry or blogs or books? Oh, brilliant. Oh, excellent. Oh, good. Okay, it's lovely to be among colleagues. And I thought I might introduce you to one of my books. And it's actually sold as a children's book, but I was inspired by watching other writers on social media. And they would do all these lists of all the things you need to do to make a book, or to plot your story, or to come up with characters. And they would spend hours on social media giving tips. And I realized these people weren't actually writing their books because they spent all the time talking about it. And I can understand that, because sometimes you can get a fear of starting and you just talk about writing. And so I actually created the character, Grumpy Corn, as a little bit of a joke. It's kind of a little bit teasing the writers, but also I thought they would find it quite sweet. So I'm just going to walk you through it. This book isn't actually out yet. It's not published, but it's come out just for the fair. They've brought some, so it comes out next week. And it's dedicated to my aunt and uncle, and an illustrator I met in Alaska called Valisa Higman, and she has the dream writing studio, an illustration studio. And I met her in Alaska, where my uncle has a cottage. So it starts with the perfect morning. Unicorns rowing out to his writing cottage. The sun is rising. He moors his boat, so excited to start the day. Unicorn was sitting in his special writing house. I'm going to write the most fabulous story in the world, he thought. This made him feel very pleased with himself. He already liked being a writer. You can see he has everything, the post-it notes, table, fire. But Unicorn did not know where to begin his story. I need my special fluffy pen, he said. He went and got his special fluffy pen. But he didn't know what to write. I need a cup of my special moonberry tea, he said. Then I will be able to write my story. He went and made himself a cup of his special moonberry tea. And Unicorn sat at his desk, wondering what to write in his special fancy notebook. He sighed. I wish an idea would come knocking at my door. Maybe some of you have felt this before. But Narwhal knocked instead. What are you doing, Unicorn? I'm busy writing the most fabulous story in the world, said Unicorn. Wow, said Narwhal. Can I be in your story? Maybe some of your family have said this to you. or not. And you can see he's got all sorts of ideas for Unicorn's story. "Don't be silly," said Unicorn. "No one wants to read a story about a narwhal. Narwhals are very boring. There will be no narwhals in this story." "Oh," said Narwhal. He swam sadly away. Poor Narwhal. "Mermaid, guess what?" said Narwhal. "Unicorn is writing the most fabulous story in the world." Mermaid looked impressed. She swam off to visit Unicorn. "Hello, Unicorn," she said. "How is your story coming along?" "Very badly," said Unicorn. "I am waiting for my moment of genius. And I do not have any cookies. My genius ideas will only come to me if I can get some cookies to eat." Mermaid had an idea. "If I bake you cookies, can I be in your story?" And you can see she's got lots of ideas about her superhero mermaid saving the city. Unicorn thought for a moment. "Maybe, but only if the cookies make me feel inspired." You can see where this is going. Mermaid swam back to her submarine to bake her famous starfish cookies. Narwhal helped. He loved licking the bowl. Mermaid brought the cookies to Unicorn. "Now can I be in your story?" she asked. Unicorn took a bite of cookie and looked thoughtful. He ate the whole plate of cookies and kept looking thoughtful. "No," said Unicorn, "I'm afraid you can't be in my story. They were very good cookies, but they did not inspire me." Mermaid's like, "What?" Mermaid swam away in a huff. "What's wrong, Mermaid?" asked Jellyfish. "Unicorn is writing the most fabulous story in the world," she sniffed. "But he won't let me be in it. My cookies were not inspiring enough." "Maybe I'm in it," said Jellyfish. Everyone loves Jellyfish. She wriggled with excitement and swam off to visit Unicorn. She's so happy. "Hello, Unicorn," said Jellyfish. "Have you finished your fabulous story yet? I can't wait to read it. Is there a jellyfish in it? Why don't you let me be in your story? I will be the most brave jellyfish and go into space and discover fantastic aliens, jellyfish, and..." "No!" howled Unicorn. "I can't get any ideas because everyone keeps bothering me. You are all very silly and annoying, and I don't want to write this story anymore." "Oh, what a grumpy corn," said Jellyfish. Unicorn threw his fluffy pen, his notebook, and his teacup in the sea. They sank down and drifted on the ocean currents until... "Look," said Mermaid. "It's the most fabulous story in the world." "Yippee, let's read it," said Narwhal. The friends gathered around to read Unicorn's story, but doom, 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 Unicorn had not written a single word. "Poor Unicorn," said Mermaid. "I wish we could help." "I have an idea," said Narwhal. "Once upon a time, a unicorn tried to write the most fabulous story in the world. He was visited by a world-famous baker," said Mermaid. "And the bravest jellyfish in the ocean," said Jellyfish. "And the cleverest narwhal in the whole universe," agreed Narwhal. A few hours later, Unicorn arrived, carrying a big flat box. "I tried to write a fabulous story," he said, "but I was not a very fabulous friend. But I am fabulous at ordering pizza. I brought this to say I'm sorry." "That looks like a very inspiring pizza," said Narwhal. "And you are just in time to help us finish the most amazing, clever, fabulous, and funny story in the world." And there you can see them in the submarine, all together, actually writing a story. And the very last scene, you can see all these little seahorses have been watching. Oops. There they are, and they're copying. It's like the children, they copy what the grown-ups do. And so they think they're unicorns too. And they find the story at the bottom of the sea, and they start to act it out. And this is just in the pictures. There we go. So that's the final scene of the book. And that's very fun to paint. So I thought you might be able to relate a little bit to that story.
Sarah, now I understand. When I was looking and searching on the internet, on the YouTube, you were mentioning highly in some of the session you were producing that it's very not important to be perfect, but it's important to be connected.
Yes.
So I guess what we see here is both actually, and with the way also you've been saying it, it's very fascinating. So can you please elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think people, they think they've got to make the best thing ever, but I always like to tell children, don't try to make a good story. Make a bad story, because then there's no pressure. You can make a bad story and another bad story, sometimes even make it intentionally bad, because it can be quite funny. It makes you laugh. You think, oh, I'll give this 3 eyes instead of 2, or I'll make the unicorn turn into an astronaut or dissolve into jelly. You know, something stupid. But when you do these kind of silly things, it can get really good ideas. And you can never have a good book unless you do the bad book and another bad book and another bad bit of writing. But they get a little bit better each time. And finally, it might even be a little bit good and then a little better. And then you may do that really good piece of writing. But you never would have had that without the bad stuff. So the bad stuff is really important. And don't be ashamed of it. Just say, it's like, you've got to treat it like a child. You know, you've got your book ideas and your books, and you kind of, if this was your child and they didn't do a very good story, you wouldn't say, get out of the house and never come back. You'd say, oh, that's okay, we'll work on it. Give them a hug, make them know they're loved. And you have to do that with your pictures and your stories as well. You have to just say, well, that's good enough for now. Good enough for now is really helpful phrase, because you've got to take it and treat it like a child, give it a hug, say, I'm not going to destroy you, you're safe with me, and we'll grow together. So it's treating yourself kind of gently, and you can critique yourself, but don't sort of toss it out and throw it in the bin, because that's a bit of you in there, and you need to treat yourself gently. That's kind of the idea behind that.
So this is part of what you were saying. You need to embrace yourself.
Yeah, embrace your mistakes, embrace your failures, and just keep going.
Okay. I mean, what made you actually interested in children book and illustration? When did that start? Is that something was from your childhood or something you grew up later on?
I always loved children's books growing up. And comics as well. I grew up in Seattle, and we got these newspapers that had full-color comics on Sunday morning, and it would be 8 pages of these beautiful comics, all drawn by different artists. And there was one called Calvin and Hobbes by Bill Watterson that I loved. And they were so funny because to little children, they're quite silly and adventure stories. But to grown-ups, they're quite profound, like philosophy. And so everyone in my family would fight over the newspaper so we could read it first. So my dad would want to read it, I would want to read it, my sister. And it was really inspiring. And I'd copy them, the drawings. So, yeah, and actually I got into writing because I learned that if I want to draw whatever I want, I think, oh, I'd really like to do a lot of pictures of sharks. That would be fun. So instead of having to wait for somebody to write me a story, I can just write it myself. And often it will take me, this one took me 1 hour to write, and then it took me 6 months to illustrate. So, people often put all the emphasis on the writing, but actually, you can get an idea and it just comes to you, whereas you always have to spend a lot of time doing the pictures. Whereas I did a book called Jampires, and I did it with my friend, David O'Connell. We went back and forth, and we actually had 18 drafts of this, and it took 8 years to get published because we kept missing the deadline and going to the next book fair. And so 1 hour, 8 years. Nobody knows how long it will take to do a story.
But maybe because this is part of the being is a children book, because it's more difficult than a normal book, just concentrate on writing. Because here I mean, you
Yeah.
concentrate a lot of illustration.
Yeah.
That should be connected with the children and not actually
I mean, I do
just to
longer
make
books.
it perfect.
I do these books with my friend Philip Reeve, and they've got a lot of words, 200 pages, but also a lot of pictures. And these are really good because a lot of children, when they go from picture books and then they have to go straight to books with no pictures, they get quite scared. And my friend Philip and I, we watched a kid reading this book at one of our books, and as long as there was a picture on the page, he kept reading. And he got to the first page that didn't have a picture, and he closed the book and put it down. And we thought, every double-page spread, like this is a double-page spread, should have at least one little picture, because it just pulls them through the book, and it's really important. And adults like them too. Adults like pictures, so.
I guess I'll ask you this last question because I'm sure everybody wants to ask you here.
Yeah.
We are really fascinated with your unique style.
Oh.
And I've been looking in the internet, and every time I really get interested with your different type and colors and shapes of the hats you are wearing, honestly. I mean, do you think that was part of something that you like, or is it what do you think?
I think, because actually I started out, I was actually quite shy as a person. And to go on stage just as me, I thought, why are they going to respect me more than any other random adult walking onto stage? I have to give them something to appreciate. You know, if I just look like somebody's mother walked in from the school park, they're not going to be, I'll have to work harder to get their attention. But if I come in looking almost ridiculous because I'm so fancy, they'll be like, who is this person? And it gets their attention. And also, I live in a neighborhood in London that has a lot of Ghanaian and Nigerian people. And we have the most amazing fabric stores and tailors and hat shops. Like a lot of church ladies wear these big hats. So they're actually quite affordable. And I love it. I have a tailor from Ghana there, and she makes me beautiful stuff.
Okay. I guess we will open the floor for the questions. And Noha?
Really, it's a lovely story. My English is not very well.
Oh, it's good.
But I'm thinking that the books for the kids, it is the most important books ever. Because it is you are building the personality of the kids, not only for the kids, also it's information for the mother how to treat the kids.
Yeah.
So before writing any books, you are thinking what manner you want to transfer it to the parent and the kids.
Yeah.
But it's a lovely story.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, reading a picture book, if you think about the size of a child, and, you know, if they're sitting in front of the book, it's proportionally massive. So it's like they're surrounded by this huge theater, and the other side of the book is you, this warm chest of an adult, and there's something that circle is such a sort of founding kind of thing.
So looking at psychologically issues.
Yeah, it's just that warmth of a world, but also comfort of the mother or father who's holding the child as you read together. It's so important, and just, it sticks with you more than anything else in your whole life, I think. Like more than when you read grown-up books.
Aida, I'm sure you have. Aida
I wrote a children book like you.
Oh, wow.
But I loved your book. I want to congratulate you for the idea, for the illustrations, for the way you are telling the story. So interesting. I love it.
Oh, thank you so
much.
much.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting me here. This is great.
Any question, any comments, any addition?
Hi, it's really appreciate you being in الملتقى Salon, Literature Salon. It's an honor for us to receive you here with us and to be with your family. And also our stage is our place. We make it always like home.
Yes, beautiful.
We discuss with the writers. It's really you open something in my mind, because always we're afraid to write something. Even now you talk about the children book. Even for us, sometimes you do something bad and you throw it. It's nice to keep it. It's and you give me. It's really advice. It's from the bad. It's coming the good things. I think it's good to know that things, and sometimes many things we do and we throw it because I don't like it. But maybe when we keep it and we write again and again, and even because we are a book club, And always when I give the ladies a book,
Yeah.
and they told me they are a bad, I said, never mind, read a bad after you read a good. If we don't read the bad, we will not know the good. And
true.
always this my mythology actually with them. And I'm happy when I hear you said like this. It's meaning I'm good and I am I'm in the good way. Sorry, my English it's not.
No,
so,
it's good.
The right way. يعني.
Yeah.
It's thank you very much to open our my mind
you
to
so
these
much.
things, and I love your book.
Oh, thank you.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful, and I like your characters and your look. It's really. And now the fashion's African
Yeah.
style. You are in fashion now. Thank you very
you.
much to be with us.
Thank you. Yeah, what you were saying in the book club. I used to be in a book club for 9 years,
Yeah.
and I remember we had we had scientists and architects and comedians and people all in the club together. And sometimes they would bring a book that looked so bad that I said, I have to read that book because it looks so bad. I want to find out how bad it is. And I remember reading Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, and because it had the worst cover I'd ever seen on a book, and somebody recommended it, and I was like, and then I read it 3 times because it was so good, and I thought I never would have found this book if it hadn't been for the book club, and like forcing myself to. It's like a mistake, something you wouldn't do.
أسمع سارة.
There's another question there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I wanted to thank you for that as well, especially coming from someone who has a daughter who's obsessed with unicorns. So sometimes it's painful reading some books, honestly, because they're not so inspiring. But this is really very nice,
Oh,
and
thank you.
beautiful illustrations as well, especially since you do them yourself.
You're some of the first people who've seen them.
Yeah, oh really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not even out yet.
Yeah, well, I actually have your shark in the bath, so I didn't know
wow.
you wrote that. So that's
Thank you.
that's also great. So what inspires? Do you have children of your own, or what inspires you
No.
to go down that route? Actually, because
Funnily-
you seem to sort of pin the nail on the head exactly as to what the kids are looking for.
Funnily enough, I don't actually have time to have children because being an illustrator is like 5 jobs. Because you're a business person, you're a publicist, you're an illustrator, you're a writer. I never have time to do anything. Even my houseplants die. But I do meet a lot of children doing school events. So and it's really interesting when you go in front of a school or a festival and you just see what they react to. They love, for example, with the shark one, I would draw monsters and they would just love it when they had big teeth. And I was like, I should do a book about something that just has ridiculously large teeth. That's going to get them. And they love it. So the children do inspire.
Okay. I guess Sarah here, she's continuing her campaign because she started already the
yeah.
campaign of the illustration, and she got the award on that, and one of the best. But I guess here after this session also, our group here will be also more encouraged to do that. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
so,
yeah,
so
should I tell
actually
them about
you're
that?
continuing your campaign here.
Yes, I have a campaign called Pictures Mean Business, and it came about because a lot of times the writer of the picture book would get all the credit, and people would just leave out the name of the illustrator, and it was so difficult because, as an illustrator, your name is your brand. You might switch styles from book to book, but your name is so important, and the only way you're going to get more work and build your professional career is if people know your work and know your name. So it was like, why wouldn't you? There was this famous book called The Gruffalo by Julia Donaldson and Axel Scheffler. And Julia would get all the credit. And Axel did so much work in that book. And all the visuals are his. And so in newspapers, they would call it Julia Donaldson's book. And it's like, okay, maybe if it's a long book where there's tiny pictures in it, maybe that's okay. But in a picture book, the clue is in the title, picture. So you have to credit the illustrators. And it was just trying to convince people, because this campaign always failed. Like all through the last 20 years, all these older illustrators said, don't even bother, it's not going to work. We've tried for our whole lives to get our credit. And I've discovered that the problem is we were always saying, poor us, please give us credit, don't you love us, don't you care? And in business, this is terrible, but people don't actually care about us. Like, you have to accept that it's business, and people, when they're making contract decisions and financial things, it's not the first thing they think about is like love. So I thought about, well, let's turn it around. Let's say, how can you benefit from crediting illustrators? And so people actually, we can make really good cases that when people credit illustrators, they actually gain something. So when you tell children, look, this is illustrated by like Axel Scheffler or Lydia Monks, they say, oh, you can be it's a real person. I'm a person, I like to draw, I could make books. And so they get excited and they realize, because otherwise they literally don't know an illustrator as a person. They don't make that logical step, that connection. And when you talk to writers, you might say, come on, be fair, give us credit. But if you say to them, actually, if you credit your writer, you have more publicity reach because you can tap into your illustrator's fan base. And you can, other illustrators will see that you respect them and will be more likely to want to work with you. And there's so many different ways. You'll get more support. Like if you're doing a series with an illustrator and they get a chance to work with somebody else, they might think, well, this person treats me really well. I might stay with them. And so your series might not come to an end because the editor thinks, oh, I don't want to do this series with a different illustrator because it will look wrong. So there's a lot of reasons that actually other people win, not just the illustrators when we're credited.
Okay, before we go to the last two questions, I think everybody's asking me here where they can buy your books.
Oh, I think Magrudy's is selling them over by the main stage. So if you want, they've got Grumpy Corn, Shark, Dinosaur, Firefighters, quite a few of them.
So they're on the stage, right?
And I'm happy to sign and draw a little picture in them if you'd like.
You had also today sort of an exercise with children. This is the first time you visit an Arab country?
Yeah, I've been to the Dubai Lit Fest, but I've never been to, this is my first time to Abu Dhabi.
So what do you see the difference? I mean, what do you feel that you can do now after visiting an Arabic country? I mean, was that make a difference? Today you had a session with children from Abu Dhabi. So was there a difference in...
I don't know. I mean, children are children. It's just lovely to meet people from different cultures and sort of get their impressions and learn from them, how is illustration and writing here.
أنا سيما.
Okay. لا لحظة هي كانت غدا.
Hello, Sarah. Hello, Sarah.
Hiya.
I congratulate it because you are in the field of childhood. I am a writer and I am a poet and I am literary translator from Saudi Arabia.
Cool.
Can you tell us who is the writer of a children's book? Who is the writer? His soul, his climate. Who is the writer of a children's book? He is different from the writer who wrote for adult. Yes. What is about the writer of a children's book?
You mean
Who is
compared to other? Compared to
general,
non-children?
as a general.
I guess children's book writers. It's really funny when I come to literary festivals and I meet grown-ups writers and poets.
When he writes, he laugh like this. When he wrote, he write for children.
Yeah.
And through the process of writing, he love, he plays, he like this.
Yeah.
He do like this.
I find children's book writers, especially picture book writers, tend to be really kind people. Like I really like spending time with other people. You get writers for older books, and they're a mixed bag. Some are nice, some are a bit prickly. But people who write children's picture books, they're the kindest, gentlest, nicest people. And whenever I go to a festival and meet them, we instantly become friends because you just know it's a good person. Because you can't take yourself too seriously when you write children's books.
Because you are in the field of childhood.
Yeah.
Fatina?
Okay, hi Sarah.
Thank you.
I'm a grandmother. I have 6 grandchildren, and of course they speak English, but we speak Arabic so much, but still the children, it seems, at school they learn more English.
Right.
I have 2 questions. One comment, one question. The first comment, last year, the fashion was everywhere you go, there was a unicorn on the fashion.
Of course.
Did you see that?
Yeah, ever since I was a kid.
Is it they were imitating you or you took the idea from them?
No, because I mean, when I was 12, I had unicorn stuff everywhere. It's
okay.
just, it never dies.
It is very lovable. My
It's a classic.
My granddaughter, her birthday was yesterday. It was a cake of unicorn.
Oh, of course.
So now I taped all your stories so she can look at it. The second thing, you write, of course, in English, your tongue language. Do you agree or do you advise people to translate the children books into other languages and have your stories being translated?
Yeah, actually, the books I do with Philip Reeve about the flying pony and other ones, they've been translated into about 25 languages.
Bravo.
And I don't actually do that because translation is such a specific skill. And it's like being a poet or a writer.
Not you, of course. I mean, publishers.
Oh, it's wonderful. The more languages, the better. I love. There's one when it came out in Japanese. I had the first one I did. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And they did the cover a little bit differently, and it was so beautiful that it actually influenced one of my later covers. Because I thought that's such a good idea. They had a color scheme.
Yeah.
It was just it was beautiful.
Yeah. Sometimes when I read to them, I do mix the Arabic and English. But this one with the pictures, with the illustrations, we don't need that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you
Seema.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I mean, Sarah, is there anybody else want to ask anything? Okay, Sarah, we are very well and thrilled actually for being here. I'm sure you did sort of a lot of encouragement for here to actually to start writing and thinking about the illustration more deeply. And I think now they will think also, they will look at the campaign and what's the benefit of that. Thank you very much for you being out with us with the
Multaqā
group.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, so come ask me questions there if you're too shy.
See, you will be available here also. Okay. And we're going to be having usually writing the book of the Multaqā, your comments, and your signature, I mean, for the book you have. I guess that's it. And we will have a photo now with the team of Multaqā. We will be thrilled and very fascinated with the presentation.
Thanks for hosting.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. It's lovely to visit. It's such a beautiful setting.